Good day, fellow deal makers. Welcome to the Deal Scout. My name's Josh. I'm your host. I am a deal guy. I love deals. And we've talked about deals on this show, ranging from SPACs to lemonade stands. I've interviewed my daughter, who sold a book online at age 7 or 8 or whatever. So we've talked a lot about different types of deals. The purpose and mission of the show is to educate ourselves on different types of deals out there. But really, what I want you to do, if you're listening in and you hear a cool guest and you want to do a deal with them, their contact information will be in the little show notes below. Connect with them and do a deal. That's awesome, right? So with that, on today's show, we're going to have a guy named Justin who, now you might just be listening in, but if you're watching in on YouTube, the coolest looking background is like green. It has like this cool, like superhero kind of esque behind him. So
Do
Justin,
you
welcome to
remember
the show,
back in
man.
the 80s the I can't remember, he had the glasses and blonde hair and he had bright green in the background?
That's what you look like without the
Yeah,
hair.
without the hair.
Without the hair.
Yeah, that was taken from me. So that's
You didn't give it up willingly, it
I
left you.
did ish. It was more like my wife was like, "Oh, you're kind of balding." And I said, "All right, it's gone. I'm out. This is done."
Hey, you have a nice head. All right.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. So Justin, who are you?
My name is Justin Colby, born in San Francisco, California, went to UCLA, got into sales immediately. I've never been employed, been an entrepreneur since I graduated UCLA.
Hmm.
I became broke, busted, and disgusted back in 2005. Lost my house to foreclosure. Repo man took my car. Ended up on a couch. Maybe that's 2006, 2005, 2006. Made it through the recession without going BK. Got into real estate very heavily. I flipped over 2,000 homes. I run a full-time national real estate investing company. We just opened a fund, real estate investing fund. I'm very active in the real estate space and the education space. So I teach people everything I know. And as long as they do what I advise, they usually become very successful at doing it.
Dude, you're awesome. So riding someone's couch, right?
Yeah,
So that is super humbling, right? Like I've had to move back in with mom and dad. I've seen
sure.
multiple vehicles go on the back of a tow truck, handed over keys to house, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I get it. It sucks. Um, Going from hustling to broke, busted, and disgusted. Talk to me about the fall. Talk to me about, Justin was rising to the top, bright,
Yeah.
ambitious guy, visionary, hit bottom. What was that
Yeah.
like?
Yeah. So I was in real estate. I helped my friend build a brokerage in Northern California. And we essentially were just selling his dad's new home builds. His dad was a developer, or is a developer, and we would sell his new home build. So I had no skill because if you remember back in the day, if you're old enough, fully financed loans, 100% financing, stated income, blah, 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 blah. Literally everyone was getting approved. So essentially I would just be an order taker. Whoever had the highest offer, we took and they funded and I made money. Well, when the market started to shift, I had no skill set, I had no book of business. So the market crashed in 2008, but there was a lot leading up to that, right? That's when everyone remembers crashing. But all of a sudden, loans started to dry up, going into 2006. It was a lot harder to get funding. And when people don't have basically free money thrown at them, it became a skill game, meaning if you had a book of business, if you knew how to, if you had skill set, you could still maintain and do it, but I didn't. So I took it in the teeth, right? And so I made a lot of money, had an expensive home, had a very expensive car, was 25, 26 years old, had 40 grand on credit cards because I would pay it off every month. So I was like, who cares? Let's just get the points. Um, but then I couldn't pay it off, right? And I had a mortgage and a very expensive car note and crash, right? And so very humbling. Fortunately, I was single. I didn't have a wife or a kid. I was able to kind of couch surf. At that point, I wasn't willing to call my mom and dad. I felt like I was old enough to say, you know what, I'm gonna figure this out. Like they're not. I don't come from an entrepreneurial family, and we don't have money per se. Like I wasn't. I don't come from a poverty family, but I didn't. Our family didn't have money. And I was like, they're not gonna serve me, right? I'd rather call buddy and say, hey, do you mind if I sleep on a couch and let me stay in my entrepreneurial mindset and like, because my family was like, go get a job. Well, I didn't go get a job. I went full time into real estate investing, not knowing what I was doing. And back in 2007, let's call it, there was no gurus, there was no YouTube, there was no, Instagram, Facebook. Like, there's nothing to go find a Justin Colby coach to go help me do this. So I called realtors, right? That was the only place I knew to go get deals. And it took me 9 months to get a deal. And as they say, the rest is history, right? 2,000 plus deals later.
What is the most comfortable couch to sleep on, and what's the worst kind of couch to sleep on?
They're all terrible. I'm 6'4", bro. They're all terrible. I don't think I've met a comfortable couch, right? Like some are worse than others, right? The
Yeah.
the sectionals that like literally have a section between, right? So like your lower back and your butt, like those are awful. But
Yeah. The
um
the convertible ones, the ones that like anytime a buddy asks you to move and you see the couch that you could pull the bed out of it, those are the worst, heaviest, most uncomfortable beds when I crowd surfed or
100%
couch
the
surfed.
worst. I would almost tell you if someone had a futon couch. I was like, yes, at least it's a flat futon, like not bumps and like, but then I still didn't fit, so I'd have to sleep on an angle, right?
Yeah.
Because straight away I was 6'4". I couldn't. My feet would hit the thing, my head's hitting the thing. But
Yeah.
hey, I
I-
took it, dude.
I'm blessed at 5'8". I could fit on any couch almost out there.
There you
So like
go.
it's perfect. So Justin, all right. Broke. I like that, man. I've never heard that. Broke, busted, and disgusted, right? Like that's a cool thing to like go on. What does disgusted mean, right? Like I get busted, right? Like I get broke. Disgusted with yourself, disgusted with a
Yeah, I mean,
situation.
I was broke financially, but I was broke mentally and psychologically, right? Spiritually. I was just broke. I was just broken, right? So I say, it's a nice alliteration, broke, busted, and disgusted, but it's just when you're broken spiritually and psychologically, that's a lot to handle. And so you just you gotta be committed to getting yourself out of the couch,
Yeah.
right? And so, but I was blessed with the ability to do that. I don't know where I got it. I just told you I don't come from an entrepreneurial family. I don't come from a family that, you know, built this big thing from nothing. I literally have this shoulder shrug mentality. It's like, tomorrow's a new day. I got this. Right. And I've always had that. And I don't know where. And it may have come from my childhood. I grew up with alcoholic parents and, I moved out at 14 years old and I kind of had this ability to say, I got to rely on myself. Right. And I was able to always just have a positive outlook on things. Like if you can make it through that type of childhood with alcoholic and parents and all that kind of stuff, like really never that bad.
Running from fear or chasing purpose, right? So when you come from a background of pain or trauma or something like that, one of the things is I'm going to run from that. So I'll never be like my fill in the blank, my dad's
Sure.
situation, mom's situation. So there's that running from pain, which I think is a great motivator, right? Like I don't want my kids to suffer the things that I had to suffer in the shit.
Sure.
At what point does that burn out where then you have to look at a bigger purpose? Or is that always a good motivator? What are your thoughts, man?
I would argue it's always a good like I look at my friends that like are 9 to 5ers and like I'm terrified of that. Like
That's
I've
scary.
through my entrepreneurial journey, there's moments where you're like, fuck, there's only a couple bucks left in this thing. We got to get this sale or we got to flip this deal or um in that fear of like, what are my options? Like, really? Am I going to go get a job? So that's always a good motivator. I think fear is always a really good motivator as long as it's constrained. Fear for fear's sake is not good, right? Like news isn't good. That they just want to fear you into being captive, right? They want to constrain all of us, really, is my opinion. I'm not political and I'm not going to go there. I just, I'm more of it's funny, I married a Cuban woman and you should see in understand the American Cuban people are so different than the rest because they really know what communism's really like. They know what it's like to like their food is parceled out. They only get so much. It's rationed.
Hmm.
And if you're out of food for the week, you're out of food and you have to wait for the next like their mindset is differently. And I just kind of I've been given that because I had to fend for myself as a kid. So I've always been like, I got to go eat. So I got to go out and kill so I can eat. And I've just kind of had that as I had a tough childhood. But I didn't rely on fear. I just relied on that's how I'm going to eat. Right.
Yeah.
So it's to me the place to live is abundance and the ability to go achieve anything you want versus the fear. And if you can stick there, like recently I've been spending a lot of time with Grant Cardone and people like Brad Lee and
Mhm.
being able to understand their philosophies and mentality is just mind blowing. You're just like, goodness gracious, am I playing way too small? Right. Like
Yeah.
I want this goal. And they're like, bro, why is that not in Grant Cardone fashion? And this is not the Grant Cardone everyone else sees. This is me with his daughters sitting down, eating, shooting the shit. He's like, Justin, why is that not a 10x number? Like, why are you thinking so small? What are you doing? Right. Like, it's just, but that's their nature. Right. But now, again, he's 62. So he's like, hey, dude, I have 20 years on you. Right. You have time to get to this,
Yeah.
but you need to really level up this ability to figure out what you can achieve, because you can
Yeah.
achieve a lot more than you're allowing your goals to be. So that's where I
Oh,
go, is I can go get more.
yeah, dude. So good. But before we go there, I do want to talk about spiritually broke. I do want to talk about this success thermostat, right? I just got off the phone with Gino, Jake and Gino there and the things that they're doing. And
They're jumping on my podcast right after this
get
podcast.
at it. All right. So tell Gino, Josh Wilson said, hey, he's cool. Get him to sing opera for you. All
All
right.
right.
Dude can sing. All right. So, that's so good. But you talked about eating, right? And you talk about like the things that we're consuming and such. Cuban wife, do you get some tres leche every once in a while?
Bro, I get all this stuff. It's so amazing. I
I
don't know how
love
there's a
their
skinny
food.
person in Miami.
Yeah. Okay,
Bro,
good.
I'm not joking. My body does not look the same as it did before I got to Miami. No lie.
Yeah.
I've said, this is too good. I'm not going to give myself constraint right now. I'm eating it all.
Cafe con leche. You got some
Oh,
tres
and they have like
leche.
7 pounds of sugar. They must put like 7 scoops of sugar in their coffee. And
Yeah.
it tastes amazing.
And then you're jacked and then you crash 20 minutes later. So you got to have
Yeah.
another one, right?
Yeah, yeah. Now
Okay.
this is just your Americano, but I still like my cafe con leche.
Yeah, I feel you. Spiritually broke.
Mhm.
What's that mean, right? So like I could see I could open my wallet, there's nothing in there or whatever, and I could go, I got no money in there. That's broke. But like what does your spiritual wallet look like?
You have no spirit. You have no guiding light. You're just kind of existing, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing, the extreme when someone's spiritually broke is there's nothing to live for, right? That's the extreme.
Yeah.
I was nowhere near that, by the way, just for clarity purposes. I do
Yeah.
not have that story of I was at that brink of potentially ending. No, I don't have that story. But I have the story of like, ugh, I'm just here. I'm just a human being. And it's not my philosophy,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um, I'm more like a human winning, right? Because if you're just being, you're just existing,
So good, dude.
right? So I was just more of a human being, and that's broken, right? You're not going to go crush it and achieve if you're just being, if you're just waking up and being a person and just being there.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean.
So how do you fill up if you're let's just say you look in your bank account and there's $0 in there. You look in your spiritual account and there's $0 in there. Like how would you let's just say you were spiritually broke for a minute. How would you go about filling up the spiritual bank?
So I think a lot of that has to do with your like info diet, right? So what are you digesting in information? So very quickly I turned that around, right? I obviously didn't sit in that human being long. I definitely became a human wing again, but it had to do with like diving into good audiobooks, diving into good podcasts, getting around the people who are motivating versus, not, I guess you could say, not being alone, getting around people. Community is huge. I think one of the biggest human needs is your community
Mm-hmm.
of like-minded people. I take that in different form today. I still believe in it, but then I cut a check to be in a room of people that I want to be around in. So I invest in my community now, and I
Yes.
cut a check to, be at that table. So I still firmly believe in the same fundamentals I did when I was broke. Just when I was broke, I didn't have the check. Now I have a check. So I cut a check to be in that community.
You know what's funny is broke people go, oh, I shouldn't have to pay for friends. If I pay for friends, it's not really friends. And it's not essentially like paying for friends, like, here's $5, be my friend.
Totally.
There's something different. It's investing in a community. And it costs us a lot of money to run a community and to build a community and to be a part of other communities where they're 20,000 steps ahead of me. I'm like, dude, I'll pay you, like, teach me, show me.
Yeah,
I
and if
don't,
you don't become friends, who cares? If especially as an entrepreneur, if you're not paying to be a part of a community of others that are doing bigger, better things than you are, then just be okay with where you're at then. Don't bitch. Problem is everyone likes to bitch.
bitching's
So,
fun, but it won't get you anywhere and nobody listens, right?
and no one listens.
Nobody
So,
gives a
like,
shit.
get to the table you want to be at, right? Like, dude, every year I spend a lot. Like, already this year I've spent 75 grand. I'm considering one more coach by the end of the year. Last year I spent 115 grand. The year before that, 85 grand. I only say all that. That definitely, that's not a flex, right? It's just more like, because I'm hell bent on winning and being better. And there's just things I don't know.
Why are you hell bent on winning?
Because we only have one life to live. What are we just going to sit around and exist? Like, we got to fucking win in this lifetime. We
How
only
do
got
you?
one of them. There's in practice. You don't get practice and then a game. Like, this is it.
Right.
So go win.
And I feel the same way. Well, the thing that drives me is this idea of, right, my pain will drive me, right? I don't ever want to have to go through that again because that really hurt. It hurt
Sure.
me, it hurt my wife, it hurt my family. It was embarrassing. Like, dude, don't ever want to be back on the bankruptcy court. You know, like I don't ever want to go there. I have to run forward. I have to move. And my wife trusts me, right? So I've got all these things going for me and I've got to win.
Yeah.
There's no turning back. I've got to win. Um, so good. This info diet, man, and this community and this like investing in this and running forward. I mentioned, I spoke with Gino about this, like there's a financial thermostat, but I think that there's also a success thermostat. So you're sitting down with Grant and his family and you're looking at things and you're sharing your ideas, and to your friends that let you their couches one day, they may like be like, whoa, Justin, that's a huge idea. And Grant's like, dude, why do you think it's so small? There's
Totally.
a what have you experienced and how do you push yourself up higher?
I again cut checks to play in bigger sandboxes, right? I love my loyal friends from childhood, but many of them don't have the drive of entrepreneurship that I have,
Mhm.
right? And so I don't go to them for entrepreneurial advice or camaraderie. I go to them to reminisce and have fun and be, childhood friends, right? And love each other differently than we did when we were growing up, right? But when it comes to business and wanting to achieve more, those aren't the relationships I lean on. I cut a check, as I just said, masterminds or mentoring or whatever the case may be, right? And it's always served me every year, every decade. Like I've done it 15 years, so technically 2 decades or a decade and a half. It just serves to do that, right?
Yeah. So 2007, no skill set, no book of business. You started pounding the pavement, talking to realtors, trying to find deals. Took 9 months, I think you said, to find your first deal,
That's
right?
right.
All right. So since then, flipped 2,000 of them, and now you teach others to do that. If you had
Yep.
to take a guess on how much in real estate value that was over 2,000 properties, take a wild ass guess. Wild ass guess. A
Bro,
wag.
that's a tough. Let's just use 150 grand as a benchmark, right? Times 2,000 in terms of value of homes.
What
I
is
didn't
that?
make 150 grand on profit on each home. I'm saying just
All right.
in terms of value, I don't know, 2,000 times 150, because I've done deals for 30 grand. I've done deals for 300 grand. I've done, so it's kind of hard for me to just say 150 times
Do you have a calculator? Because I can't do that crap in my head.
2,100 deals, because it's over 2,000. So that's 315 million.
Awesome. Dude, all right. So now you and I, with 315 million worth of transactions under the belt, we go back and we see Justin who's about to go crash on his buddy's bed, and we go, Justin, let's take you out for coffee, bro. Cafe con leche and a tres leche on
That's
us.
it.
We'll pay for it.
That's it.
And you get to tell yourself like, all right, Justin, this is what you got to do today.
Yeah.
What would that be? You have no money. Justin of the past, no money. We're buying him coffee, right?
Yeah.
What would you say?
Find $97 a month and use Privy.
Explain.
So there's a new software. It's not actually new, but new to me, that I'm coaching my students to do, because the strategy is straightforward. It's basically realtor outreach, but you have a software and then it gives you access to something like 50 plus MLSs. So you don't have to be in your own market anymore. So as someone who's been doing virtually wholesaling and virtually buying and holding and virtually flipping now for the better part of 2 years, this was a game changer for me. So, if you can't find $97 a month, then we're talking like, at least I could have done that, right? Like I could have borrowed that or whatever the case. But dude, my students come into my coaching program and many of them in the first 30 days get a check. And if it's not in 30 days, it's within 60 or 90. But by the way, those are the students that do what I advise versus the ones that say they do and they actually don't. But yeah, that's what I tell them to do.
Yeah, super awesome. So access to deals, right? So this software platform gives you access to deals, and with training, you could go close some deals, right?
Yep.
My first wholesale deal, I think I did 14K.
I
I
did
was
7.
nice.
My first 2 deals, I did 14K. The first 2 deals, I did 7K and 7K. So it took me 2 deals in the first year. So the first deal was 9 months in. The next deal came right after, right? Because it's always that way. Like when you get your first deal or you do the thing, it comes right after that. It's always the best time because you have momentum and you have confidence. So I made 14 grand in my first year of business
And
of a
you
real estate investor.
and you have some dollars in the bank. So you got this high of a
Yeah.
deal, right? Like you're like, oh man, I did it. You get this
Yeah.
confident boost. That's the best time. The best time to do it's 3 o'clock. You just closed the deal. Don't go celebrate. Don't go get a bottle of champagne. Go do another deal because
A
you're on
hundred
fire,
percent. A
right?
100%, right? Because you have that confidence and you have that momentum and you have this like, oh shit, this is real. Let's go, let's go, let's go. That's what I want for everybody. Everyone's not built the same way, right?
Yeah.
And many people are like, oh, I just made 7 grand. I'm gonna go pop bottles at the club or whatever the case is, right? So yes, it's a more of a, that's the best time to get the next deal is right after the first deal.
Yeah.
Period. So ride that wave because momentum ends. It's like a wave. It crashes to shore at some point. So you want to ride it.
Yeah. Because then you got to paddle back out and catch the next wave. And
That's right.
any surfers out there know that paddling out on a rough day will wear you out.
Brutal,
Brutal.
but great workout.
Great workout. I
Yeah.
like stand up
Burn
paddleboard. Are
some
you a
calories.
surfer?
I have surfed. I'm not a surfer.
Okay, copy that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, you could burn some calories and such like that. And in the financial world, that's called dollars. So paddling it out against a tough market, against a lot of competition. But when you got a wave and you're catching waves, man, that's when to roll. That's when to double down, right?
Well, and if there's real estate investors, and I'm not sure entirely your audience is just straight real estate, but if there are, man, this is going to be a unique next 12 months. I am not a doomsday guy. I don't think there's going to be a crash, but there is going to be some pivoting and adjusting that is going to need to be made by investors. And if you have not yet gotten into the game, I'm telling you, this is the time. If anything, 2008 is when everyone should have jumped into real estate investing because the most amount of wealth was built between 2008 and 2012. That 5 years, if you were a real estate investor and you knew what you were doing or had the proper advice, you would have millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I knew what I was doing, I would have bought more rentals because Phoenix, dude, you could pick up properties for like 25, 30, 40 grand that were nice 3-bedroom, 2 baths. And I didn't have the money yet. I didn't have the coaching yet. I didn't have any of that. And so, but this is the time. If you are not in a real estate investing or in the real estate game, I would encourage you get in the next 12 months because it is when the market is shifting, it is the best time to get in, right? In my opinion, a lot of people got in the last 1, 2, 3 years. They made a lot of money, but they don't actually have any skill set to go along with it. They just kind of lucked out based around the market.
Yeah. All right. So I just got out of college. This is hypothetical scenario because I'm 40 years old. So I'm throwing a scenario at you. Okay. I just got out of college, got some student debt. Man, I want to hustle. I don't want to go work for a job. I saw so many people getting laid off and this and that. Man, I need to turn to real estate. I don't know a damn thing about this. Right. And I got some money that I'll throw, towards some coaching for you, Justin. Justin, teach me day one. What's the first thing I got to learn day one? No real estate experience, and I want to go make some money like you do in real estate. What should I do?
Again, I would tell you privies. I know I don't want to echo the answer, but it's just so inexpensive and so easy. Now you need to know how to use it. Need to know how to make an offer, talk to realtors, etc. Right. But it's agent outreach, right? So now you do need to learn that. And it's not just you go get it and you're going to go collect a check. I mean, again, I would highly encourage you to try to find money for a coach because it's always funny to me. People find money to get an education in a 4-year institution, but like a coach, I could tell you exactly how to make more money. All of a sudden they come up short. Is shocking. I'll tell you to go get a coach, but in general, maybe just go into sales, learn sales because real estate really is a sales game. It's a marketing and sales game, period. Right? Whether you're flipping homes or wholesaling or buying and holding, you're marketing for that asset. And then you're going to sell the agent or the homeowner on buying it. And you're the right buyer. And if you can understand sales, you'll get more deals. So
show me a good way to do sales that you've seen because you've done a lot of transactions yourself and you've coached a ton of people. How many people do you think you've coached over the years?
Thousands. I don't have an exact number, but thousands.
A lot.
I started coaching back in 2014.
Okay.
So it's 2022 and So
So
thousands.
you're looking at someone's sales process and you go, okay, that's bad. Oh, that's good. What are
Yeah.
some things that you see in the real estate game, in the wholesale world?
I'm not a hardcore seller, meaning like I don't Wolf of Wall Street them. Like I'm just not like the car salesman, right? I don't believe it's necessarily bad. It's not my style. I'm much more a soft sale type of guy where I'd almost rather someone I do this, right? Is and I coach even my team, right? So we have team meetings and we'll listen to calls and it's like, dude, that went pretty awful. Let me give you a suggestion here, right? And a lot of it is if you were the homeowner in this example, right? Hey, listen, Josh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy your home. And that's actually going to be okay. I can't buy everybody's home. I might not be able to get it the number you want. And that's just okay. So I don't want you to feel any pressure about whether this is going to work. I would like to, if it makes sense for both. I just don't believe in someone's got to lose if someone wins, right? So I want this to feel good for both of us. Is that cool? Now I've set the tone where I've tried to reduce a lot of the pressure and it's very indifferent. So my indifference then comes off, and more often than not, whether it's a homeowner or a realtor or whatever, they lean into that indifference. Like, oh, you're not trying to force me to do this, or you're not trying to, then they will usually lean in. And then I know there's something to be had. Whether the deal gets done, I don't know, but I know that I've got them, if you will, right? We still need to get to terms, but
Yeah. Um, so on a cold call, I've seen a lot of guys do this, and I loved your thoughts. Right. So you're about to make a call. How much time do you spend analyzing the house, the property, the comps?
none,
Of okay,
none.
what do you see for people, dialing for dollars and doing this wholesale? Where do you see people get caught in analysis paralysis or whatever on the before the call's made?
The vast majority of my newer students get caught in that exact same thing. They go and do all this underwriting, comping it out, trying to figure out every exact number, and then they'll make a call after 45 minutes of trying to analyze the property, and then they don't even get a hold of the seller. And they're like, how come I never get enough offers out? And I'm like, bro, because you spend 45 minutes analyzing a property that you never even talked to the seller on.
Yeah.
So how many times a day does that happen? Oh, 8. Well, shocker, in an 8-hour day, nothing happens because you analyze the death out of a property that you had no communication with anybody and you got nowhere. So let's reverse engineer this. Let's go make more offers, even though you don't know if it's the right number yet, and see if it can be the right number. Right. And so that's where just having a fundamental understanding of your numbers, not, I call it Bubba math. Get close. Right. You can perfect from there,
I
but you
love
don't
that.
need to have a dialed in absolute guarantee. All my students that are newbies, well, how do I know exactly how much the rehab is going to be? Very basic numbers. So I have 3 basic metrics, right? So you have repair is $20 a square foot. You have rehab is $40 a square foot. And you have redo is $60 a square foot. Look at the pictures. Associate the square footage with those dollar amounts. Do you think it's just a repair or a full rehab or a redo? Redo would be something where like you're moving walls, you're moving the house. Repair is like you just need new cabinets and new countertops. Great. Rehab is new cabinets, new countertops. Repair is like change the door handles, throw on some new paint, call it a day, right?
Dude, that's so cool. Really nice
Yeah,
job.
but it's Bubba math, but it helps newer people at least have a baseline where to go. But they still want to know like the granular. I'm like, don't go make offers, right? Because and this is why I say a lot of my students are starting to get deals in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, because they're actually doing what generates money, which is the offer.
The offer. Yeah. Yeah. Getting the just make the phone call. So one of the things that I liked to do, I didn't like to do it, but it worked really well. I'll drive if I see a sign, I'm calling it. Right. It does. If I see a for sale by owner sign, I'm calling it. I'll probably go knock on a door and I'll knock on their neighbor's door. Right.
Yeah,
I'll just stop and go knock on the door. But I used to love this. I don't know if you do this. First of all, are those good tactics? Like, do you recommend those kind of things?
100%. Especially if you have no money. So you're doing 2 things. You're going to leverage your time or you're going to leverage your money. If you have no money, you got to leverage time.
So good. One of the other things is I did because wholesaling, you're flipping to another investor,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'd see these signs, we buy houses cash, and I'd go, tell me exactly what you want. You're knocking on doors, you're spending all the money, you're putting these bandit signs, and then I would go to the MLS and I'd use these tools like a Privy or whatever, and then I'm sending them deals, and they're like, yeah, that one's good, cool, $1,000, bird dog fee, whatever, right? And that's a way to, make some money. In your, let's just say you came to Ocala, right? The market's hot. Like there's not a deal to be found. Like everybody's saying, the prices are too high, and fix and flip and wholesale and all this stuff is dead, right? Because the market's
Hmm.
too hot right now. Give it a year, whatever the case may be. You come here and you and I are going to go out for a day to do something, or to close some deals. What would you recommend you and I do?
If we were going to go get some deals,
Yeah, let's go get some deals.
driving would make some sense, right? If we didn't want to go out and spend a lot of money, So the reason why I like virtual wholesaling is it's all the same system, whether you're local into the market or not, right? If you're going to call, text, direct mail, you can be in any market, right? Usually the main reason people don't do it is they don't have the buyers as a wholesaler, right? So that makes sense. Um, but yeah, I would tell you, there's lists such as a vacant list, or like I have a software called the REI lead machine
Hmm.
that actually gives you data points with our artificial intelligence of like something like 4 billion data points that these people are more likely to sell. So I would use that software and I would download a list of 100 homes and we'd probably go door knock those 100 homes.
All right.
Now, it doesn't mean they're going to sell at our price,
Right.
but based around the data sets of the last 40 years of tracking real estate, those data sets, and they're obscure as shit, by the way, like things like, is their porch screened in or not? Right. Um, did owner of the home just open up a application for a lease and have a credit check? Because if they did, what's going on there? Right. Like just
They're
obscure
moving,
shit that
right?
you and I would not be able to do unless it was artificially done through computers. I would do that. I would
That's
bring that
awesome.
list of 100 and we go start door knocking.
Yeah, you'd get a list rather than just, pick a neighborhood and go, farm a neighborhood or
You
something
can
like
do
that.
that.
It's
I'm not going to say there's anything wrong, but you can just pick a neighborhood and start looking around for like, trashed houses or overgrown grass. But then I would just say we would jump on Google and virtually drive for dollars on Google with my little guy. That's
yeah.
just as easy. We don't actually have to jump in a car if you're going to do it by neighborhood.
See, I like this. You can either leverage your time or your money. And if you don't have money, you got to leverage your time. And driving for dollars could be great. But there's also investors that would go, hey, man, I'll give you the list. You go knock on some doors for me and I'll pay
A
you to
hundred
do it,
percent.
right?
And as
Yeah.
someone that doesn't have any money, then you're now the bird dog, and you'll essentially even be able to do either a wholesale fee or just a fee,
Hmm.
like a flat fee of 3 grand or a wholesale fee, and they'll do it.
Yeah. All right. So we go, let's just say we find these data points and it's just like bing, bing, bing. Here's a house that all the red indicators are saying that this is a good wholesale property. No sign in the front yard. Lawn's a little bit overgrown. See a car in the driveway. The person's home. See lights on. But we're going to do a cold knock. No indication if it's for sale or not. How would
Mm-hmm.
we approach that? I like this game, by the way. Is
Yeah,
this
you
fun for
just
you?
it's simple, right? You
Okay.
just say, "Hey, I'm walking the neighborhood as I want an investment property in the neighborhood." So I've been walking the neighborhood and I figured I saw lights on. I might as well talk to a neighbor. You interested in selling? That's it. That's the whole
Right?
script. You're done. And
We
then they say whatever they
overcomplicate it,
say.
right?
Yeah, I'm walking the neighborhood as I want a home in this neighborhood as an investment property, so I'm taking a walk. Want to check it out. You see all the light on. Just knock in to see if you have any interest in selling it, or tell me a little more. Even if you don't, would love to know a little bit more about the neighborhood, as I think it's a good neighborhood to have an investment property.
Super cool, man. Why do we overcomplicate stuff? Why do we do the analysis paralysis? Why is that block preventing people from doing deals?
Some of it is personality, right? So there's a great book, Surrounded by Idiots, that I tell everyone to read, right? Basically, it's like a color personality test, but it has a very good, what do they call them? Not a fable. Is it a fable? Where it's like there's an education in the story, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of about that, right? But some of it is personalities, right? Um, the other part is I don't know. They're so scared of fear, I guess, is the reality, that they want to make everything perfect before they take any action. So that's why they overanalyze, is to make sure when they do it, they're totally dialed in. They
Yeah.
don't want to make a mistake. Well, that fear is driven by judgment, right? You don't want people to judge you. So stop the nonsense. Just go take action. No one gives a shit about you. Here's the reality. They don't,
They don't
right?
care.
They don't. They have their own lives. They have their own headaches. They have their own issues. They don't care. They
They don't
just
care.
don't. And if they care for 5 freaking minutes. and then they're onto their own trauma, right? So that's the reality. So just go do it. Don't make it perfect. Done is better than perfect. Perfect is the enemy of achievement.
If you could look back from like all of the books that you've read, what book would you say is the worst?
I've never heard that one.
I
Man.
pulled that out of my ass because I was like, everybody
Yeah.
asks the best book, but what book when you read and you're like, this is absolute shit?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, man, I'm kind of stumped because I just read so often. I don't know if I've ever read a book that was shit. Sometimes I read books that are really heavy in terms of like I call it like radio instructions where they're just like thick. You're just like, whoa, this is
Yeah,
just like not fun to read, right? Because they're like just dense type books, if that makes sense. They're like thick, they're heady, they're like
yeah,
it's like accountant shit, right? Where you're a law book, right? You're like, oh my God, this is some books I read that I'm like, okay, I can't even, I'm done. I don't care, right? Like, this is not my jam. I'm like, give me a crayon book and let me get where are the pop-ups and the
yeah,
but no, I don't know. I don't know if I have that. I think there's books that I read that I just put down and say I'm done because they're a little just too like I say, it's almost like it's written as if it's a law book or it's written like an accountant book or something where you're just like, ugh, just not for me.
yeah. Not for me. In your have you written a book?
I have The Science of Flipping. Shocker.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, how do I get a signed copy?
Good question because I don't have any more copies. I used to.
Okay.
They when I left Phoenix, we just gave them out to all of our student body, but I don't know.
So
I'll hook you up somehow
if I download it on my Amazon or my Kindle, will you just sign my phone or
for
whatever, like with
sure.
a permanent marker? Perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be good. Is there another book in you? You think?
Maybe we're somewhere down the road. It'd probably be more about entrepreneurship, business slash motivation on what it really takes. I've owned a lot of different businesses. I've had an experience of plenty of failure. So I think people just need to recognize like it's not all puppy dogs and rainbows. So even if you're following me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and you're seeing like this guy, no one wants to hear the failures or see the failures because no one cares, but no one wants to hear the whining or complaining. But I'm more verbalized. I expose them more now in my old age because I also want people to realize like it's not all fucking puppy dogs and rainbows. And I've lost millions of dollars before. Like it's happened, right? And so I think there's a book somewhere out there,
Yeah.
just not in any near future.
What felt? What had the not best feeling? What am I trying to say? What had the most intense feeling? Making $1 million? The first time you made $1 million, or the first time you lost him? What had more
Lost,
emotion? Why?
lost.
Why?
You feel like a failure, like you made a mistake. So that plays on the insecurity part, the judgment part, the fear part, the all the stuff of every human, right? And it's brutal, right? In winning feels good, but you also kind of like you go celebrate a little bit and then it's kind of like, okay, well, I got to do that again, right? Like you
Yeah.
won, but you got to like an athlete, right? Like you win the world championship, go celebrate for a week. But then the next season's going to come. Like you got to do that again. Like it's not just over. So when you lose, it's pretty finite, right? It's like, oh, I just lost $1 million or whatever the number is. Like you lost it,
Yeah.
right? So now you got to avoid that. Go ahead.
No, I love this. You're an awesome guest, man. I don't know if
Thanks, bro.
anybody's told you that. Yeah, really good job. Side by side, $1 million here, $1 million here. I earn $1 million, and then within 20 minutes, maybe a day, I'm going. I got to get back to the jam. I'm already feeling insecure. Can I go make it again? I'm already beating the shit out of myself, right? I lose $1 million. That stays with me for like years.
Yeah,
Sometimes shedding that, it's the same thing side by side. Making it, it's with me for 20 minutes. Losing it's with me for years.
totally.
How do we strengthen our mindset? How do we strengthen our game to go, hey, I lost it. I could go make it again.
Yeah, it's funny. So this is why you pay to play at the tables. Now, so one of my closest friends in the world is Kent Clothier. Some know him, some don't. He came to us not because I paid him. He my partner at the time, it weighed on him heavily, obviously. I have some miraculous ability to have a shoulder shrug mentality. Like, all right, But the thing that he impressed upon me, and now I try to impress upon others, is so what? I lost $1 million. Cool. So what? Right? What did you learn? What did you take from it? Where were the mistakes? And then have a day or two, get up and keep going. So what? Like, I don't, his point was like, I still love you. I fucking flew to Arizona for you. Like, I'm here because I knew some shit was off.
That's
Your
cool.
family's still going to love you. The
Yeah.
real people in your life are still going to love you. Those that are going to either judge, make fun, laugh at you, what are those the people that you want in your life anyways, right? So what? Right? Like, again, it goes back to the judgment and fear of judgment. Like, if you get over that, then life is a lot easier, right? Like, it just is. So the best way to get over that is to come to conclusion that people don't actually care about you. They don't. There's a very small group of people in life that really genuinely care about you. And if you lose money, they will care and try to help you and not ridicule you. Everyone else is useless. And go be a winner, right? Like, that's what he really. Now, with that, he's also like, you got to learn from it. Like,
Yeah.
you got to understand the takeaway from this big loss, but don't let this fucking drag you into the weeds,
Hmm.
right? Like, you're going to have a lot of losses. This is a big one. I get it, but like, deal with it. This is entrepreneurship, right? Like, so it's the okay, it happened. Feel it for a second and get the fuck back up and keep going because it's going to happen again. Hopefully, it's not seven figures, but you're going to lose again. You're going to make a mistake. Something's going to go wrong. What are you going to let every time something goes wrong, it drags you in the weeds and you implode? No. Get your ass back up. We're here. Let's have a day or two of being upset. It's not wrong to be in your feelings or be upset, but you don't let that last for a couple of weeks or a month or a year. Like, you just fine, maybe even a week at a most when you lose seven figures. You might be in a funk for a week, but get the fuck up and let's go. I would say a couple of days is plenty. Like, it's gone. Like, great, move on, right?
Yeah.
So
I was having breakfast with a guy named Cody, and we were talking about deals we've done and massive mistakes. We were both in the real estate bubble, and man, we hustled. But he said I wouldn't change anything, and I look back at my deal making world. I've been bankrupt, food stamps. I've been in venture capital, private equity, and I've made a lot of mistakes, mostly between my ears. Right, a lot of my mistakes were self sabotage, and I get it. The only thing that I regret, like I would do everything the exact same because of the guy I became. The only regret I had was I pulled my wife into a deal, like, hey, we're going to go do this. She's like, I don't think it's a good idea. I should have listened to her. Like, that's my only looking back. I go, man, I should have listened to my wife because that costs relationship and, like we're together, but it put some turmoil. Looking back on all the deals, are there any deals or any aspect that you would go back and change?
I want to say no. I feel like I knew one of the bigger losses. I never felt good about it, and I
Get
should
it?
have probably just listened to myself. But again, if you really look back at that, that's why, like, right now, when there's a lot of people losing a lot of money in the real estate space, like a lot, um, I'm not. And it's because of that actual moment where we lost money, and we lost $250,000 on the deal I'm talking about, that I didn't continue to be heavy into the game over the last 12 to 16 months. And a lot of people kept going. And I warned them because of the feeling I had on this deal. And now they're coming to me like, dude, you were fucking right. And I might have to go BK. Right. And
Mm,
there's like a handful of these people that have come to me about this because I told them, hey, hogs get slaughtered. This is not the time. Like, this is the time to like make money, let everything start to unfold because it's coming. Yeah, but bro, we're making so much money right now. Like, we can do that. And like, don't. I don't know what else to say. Don't. They don't listen to me. And there's, I don't know, call it seven people or so, literally are like, oh fuck, it's going down.
yeah.
And they were making million. I mean, they were really crushing it. And the challenge, you get blinded.
You get blinded because this idea of, oh man, I just had a win. Oh man, I've been crushing it. Great market, hungry world, right? And you're crushing it, and then you get this like idea: anything I do touches, anything I touch, turn to gold. There, I love that saying: pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And you've seen it before, and I've seen it before, and I've been it before.
Totally, I have to.
Is we ignore our gut instinct, this little thing in our belly that's like, this seems off. How do we know when to listen to that and when to tell that thing to suck it up?
I would usually stick with your gut, but I hate to be a broken record. If you surround yourself with the right people and you don't tell them what your gut says and you ask their opinion and they're objective because they don't have any feeling or emotion in it, this is why coaching is so good. Get a freaking coach, everybody.
Yeah.
Because they're objective. They have no emotion. There's no emotional tie to this decision for them. And if you pay to play and you're in the right masterminds, you have the right coach and you can get their objective opinion on this. And if it aligns with your gut, then you know that your gut's the right decision.
Yeah.
And it's not for certain. Mistakes are made, but like that's why you need objective opinions without just having to blindly go with your gut. I have a student, this couple, their students, they made an emotional decision. They called me after making the decision to buy this home. And I was like, oh my God, guys. Fast forward 2 weeks, they're like, oh no, I think we made a mistake. And I'm like, you made the emotional decision. You got hopped up on the excitement. The husband's even like, I kind of felt like we shouldn't be doing it, but it felt too good. And here they are. And they're like, they might be losing $7,500 of earnest money, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So, and I just only want the best for them, but it's like, darn it, like this is why you have coaching. You just got to utilize it.
What is it doesn't have to be a dollar value or a dollar representation, but if your house was caught on fire and all the life gets out of there, all the heartbeats are safe, but you could go back and get a possession. What is your most prized, proud possession?
I don't hold too much dear. I would tell you, when my daughter was born, I wanted to create a material representation of what that meant to me. So I bought a very expensive watch.
Cool. So you got that watch because it reminds you of your daughter.
Yeah.
And that time frame.
And I always wanted the expensive watch, but I always had a little too much reason to saying, why would you spend this kind of money on a freaking timepiece? Because you can go buy a, Seiko for $75 and be fine. But it had the combination of I always wanted it. And then this memorialized that moment as like, hey, that's a good moment to celebrate and to have. So I bought the timepiece. And, if there was something like it all went away, that would probably be the one thing. Because everything else, like, I don't know if there's anything else that I really actually give a shit. It's all replaceable. I mean, even the watch to some extent is replaceable. It just has more sentimental value.
Yeah. Yeah. Super cool, man. During this interview, there's probably a question. Now we'll get to, hey, where could people connect with you and do a deal and all that? We're going to get to that, I promise.
Sure.
But if there's a question I should have asked you or that you wish someone would ask you, you're like, well, someone in this world, please ask me this freaking question. What is that question?
Just because it's top of mind, I've been talking a lot about like entrepreneurs being psychotic. And I don't know if there's a question, but I'm trying to help people understand like there's something actually wrong with us. Because we take on more stress and more weight than someone that has a 9-to-5 job. We bring it home every night. We deal with it on the weekends. And the answer to that is the but we get to live our lives on our terms and not on anyone else's terms.
Oh, dude.
So I don't think there's a question I would say that, but like, I really want people to realize like, you get to make a decision. It's a whole lot like no brains, no headaches.
Yeah.
You want to go be a cocktail server on the beach in some exotic island and make 30 grand a year and live on like awesome. Sometimes I wish I could trade in my life for that because there's no brains, no headaches. Who cares?
Right.
But then I just realized like, I just want to rule this life. I have one. I want everything. I want all the experiences. I want all the things. I want all the moments in, so I don't want to live life by others' terms. I want my terms. And so I get to create that as an entrepreneur, whether I work or don't work. Have a big year and huge year in 6 months, and I want to take 6 months off because I crushed it in the first 6. Great. It's my terms. I don't have to worry about like Will my job be there? Will they fight? Well, whatever. Who cares? Right. So there's no question behind that, but I think it's something I've been talking a lot about that I don't think it's talked enough about is we get to live our life on our terms. That's why we do it. But it is not for everybody. Right.
Yeah.
So
So check this out. My buddy Chris Cleaver, wrote a book, Life on Your Terms. I should connect you guys. He's a great real estate investor, super smart dude.
yeah,
Um,
connect us.
yeah, I'll do a connection. And shout out to Chris. He was a great guest, and he keeps sending me books. So he's telling me I need to learn how to read. So one day I will, Chris. I promise.
There you
Um,
go.
Justin, where can people go to get your coaching, to learn from you, and to do deals with you?
Yeah, so go to justincolby.tv, justincolby.tv. A ton of just free education there, right? If you don't know who I am, it's always best to go just get to know me a little bit. Get to go see who I am, how I teach, what I talk about. I'm all about real estate, business, and entrepreneurship. So justincolby.tv, and then my Instagram, the Justin Colby. There's a lot of fakers out there, by the way, so just make sure it's me. Um, but yeah, the Justin Colby. I don't know how many followers I have just to make sure when people listen to this, whether it's me or not. There's literally like every day someone on my team's like, oh, here's another fake Justin Colby.
Wait a
Um,
second. You've made it to where the point where people are imitating, like they're actually creating fake accounts. You made it.
oh, daily. I was, like honestly, I'm not even joking. So I have 57,000 followers, just so
Yeah.
you know. That's the real account. If they have 20,000 followers or 1,200 followers, whatever, or they have 2 million followers, not me. Right. So I'd say the Justin Colby on Instagram, and then justincolby.tv is the greatest place for people to reach out to me.
Cool. And we'll put that those links in the show notes below. Fellow deal makers, as always, reach out to our guests and say thanks. Reach out to our guests if they resonate with you to say, hey, how do we do a deal together? If you have a deal that you would like to talk about here on this show, head over to thedealscout.com, fill out a quick form, and maybe we could talk about your deal and your fun story here on the show. Till then, we'll talk to you all on the next episode. Love you guys.